Here's a case where playing with fire, but also stacking opportunities just may pay off. And I'll share that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, today is Tuesday, May 13, 2025, and I am leaving the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, going about 110 miles eastbound. And what it is that I think I pulled off something that doesn't always happen. It's more of an exception these days than the rule. And also this may be attribution to also having another option in order to make it happen. So what am I talking about? As you see here on the inset, I've got two loads, two last mile gig delivery loads. They're both heading in the same direction. The first stop is about 85 miles or so away. The next stop is about 105, another 20 miles or so beyond that. Okay, no big deal. You would say then, oh, that's great. When I accepted the first opportunity, which is this heating and air unit, I kind of winced at accepting it because I felt as if I kind of reacted again as I did last week when I made what I felt was a thirsty move, and it took yet another last mile gig delivery opportunity to clean up that bad decision. I'm not making any excuses. I know that I flinched because I'm concerned about the market scenario with the market saturation, and I'm not reading the board as effectively as I know someone else would. And when you don't read the board like you can read the board, what ends up happening is that you make sometimes not the best moves. So I could really beautify this and say, oh yeah, I drove X number of miles and I'm making X number of dollars, and show the last delivery. But this particular time, I can't do that. I got bailed out because of a secondary opportunity, which cleaned up the first opportunity, but also kind of makes it look better. Now, that said, stacking is a common strategy. Stacking is a common strategy. When I worked primarily the gig food delivery apps, I called it stacking multiple opportunities across multiple apps. In the gig food realm, they call it dirty multi-apping. Fuck that. It ain't no dirty multi-apping. You are maximizing your earnings opportunities when you stack multiple orders across multiple apps. And in my case, sometimes I have stacked multiple orders across multiple platforms. You heard me? I said platforms. Case in point, 2 years ago, I had a brokered opportunity going towards Atlanta. I also had a catering opportunity going in the same direction, but locally. It just so happens that the catering opportunity almost backfired on me, but I was paid full pop because the store didn't have their shit together. The store told me that it would be another 45 minutes to an hour before they had the order ready. I contacted the catering company and told them I can't wait 45 minutes to an hour. And so they released me from the order. But because I showed up and I was already there, I was paid full pop for the cancellation. And in that situation, it actually cleaned up what was a shitty brokered opportunity in which I had accepted. So sometimes stacking helps. Stacking sometimes bails you out when you know that when you've knowingly made a bad bid, or sometimes you know what? Sometimes stacking cleans up bad bids. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you got one load opportunity, you brokered a low board based opportunity, a brokered opportunity, and let's say it was 200 miles you got it for $300. You just hit book. In my opinion, that is a thirsty move, which is basically what I did when I saw that first opportunity to come up. So then you're going in that direction, okay? And so you happen to see a second opportunity, so another opportunity comes up that you can catch along the way. Well, now that one you bid a little better, or it's one that you can accept, but when you combine them together, it's a better it makes more sense. And that's kind of what I did during the when I would do primarily gig food delivery work. There were times I would gamble on taking a food order that normally would not make any sense, but I took it with the intent of trying to connect on something else along the way, and then it made sense. For example, a gig food delivery order back in 2021, 2022 was laughed upon if you accepted it for 10 miles for $14. Okay? So then what I would do is look for another one along the way. And so if that one was 6 miles for $12, now all of a sudden, the one that's 10 miles for $14, when it's all said and done, I've driven 14 miles and have made $26. Now I look like I got some sense. That's similar. So then let's say the person booked 200 miles for $300. Not what I would say a smart move. But then he catches one that's going 65 miles along the way. And that drop-off location is like 35 miles away from the actual drop-off location, and he gets that one for $200. Now all of a sudden, he's going in that direction, he makes $500. Now he looks like a fucking genius. Or at least he looks smarter than a dumbass thirsty. I'll put it like that. And these are some common things that happen. There are people who are on YouTube channels that openly say, this is what I do. I got this one for this amount, but then I use this particular load board based platform to clean up what I didn't get. And that's what's happening here. So what I am going to do is pick up this conversation from the drop-off location. All right, so I am roughly 5 minutes away from the first drop-off. And what I did mention earlier while I was still in the Columbia area was that what made this possible was the option that I had. The option being this box truck. The first pickup was in the van. And when I realized that after I pick up with the van, there was a potential that I might not be able to handle both pallet items. I really gambled. I literally gambled because I drove 25 minutes in one direction to pick up the first pallet, which is that heating and air item. Okay, so the heating and air item is on a standard pallet, and okay, so it took up a certain amount of space. But then the second pallets were described as 4 foot by 4 foot by 3 foot. Come to find out, it's not really that. However, it's possible that all 3 pallets would have fit in the van. But not knowing exactly how much space I was really taking up, I opted to drive like a bat out of hell, back up 25 minutes, to switch out of the van into the box truck. So the thought is that, fortunately for me, I have this box truck as an option. As you see here, I'm at a construction site. It's actually it's a junior high school that's being some additions to a junior high school, and the fittings and wiring that I had was for this project here. So now the next drop off is actually a store-to-store transfer of a heating and air piece of equipment, and that drop off is literally like 20 minutes away. The main thing is that what I just want to impress upon, while Yes, I stacked opportunities. I could have been fucked. Had I not had this box truck, I would have had to let something go because I would not have had the capacity. Now, if I had a longer, longer body, the extended body, high roof Sprinter van, then I could have handled all three pallets without an issue. In fact, the heating and air item is something that I could have pushed all the way to the back and then pushed all the way forward at the drop off location. But because of, as I mentioned earlier, because I was unable to really get a grasp of what was to be picked up, um, I may have saved myself some issues by having the box truck as an option. So now we'll pick up this conversation from the second drop off location, and we'll call it a day. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. So I am close to the drop-off location. Not quite there because I overran my street. But this is an area that I'm more than familiar with. And unfortunately for me, this is an area where people really drive rather inconsiderate, to say the least. You better know where you're going because if you don't know where you're going, they're gonna honk on, they're gonna honk at you, they're gonna curse you out, they're gonna flip you the finger, a bunch of other shit, and perhaps rightfully so. But I'm also familiar with this area because with some there is a business park that is a freight forwarder, and I've had several pickup opportunities from there, and so that's another reason for my being familiar with this area. So yeah, I am right down the street now from the drop-off location, and so what I'll have to do is just push the pallet forward, and then they'll come by with a forklift and take it out the truck, and then I'll be done. Maybe there's something else to catch while I'm here, maybe not. If it's not, I still made a fair amount of money, considering that it started out with me not making really the best moves initially. So that's the way it is sometimes. I'm kind of giving you a picture of the setting around here simply because it's like that around here. And in fact, I believe that where you see that yellow truck is up where I'll be having to drop off somewhere up in there in that circle. And I guess I'm cool with that. I mean, hell, I can't be too picky because all I'm trying to do is get this shit out off the truck so I can get paid and move on. So as it turns out, I am actually right here. This place right here in front of me. Sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you don't know. I mean, when you don't know, that's what happens. You make your best guess, and in this particular case, I made my best guess and I guessed correctly. So we'll resume this conversation upon the piece of this heating and air unit being taken out of the box truck. All right. Unlike with the where I dropped off at a junior high school, this one was at a heating and air place, and what we did was literally, I was expecting the guy to come with a forklift as was back in the Columbia area, but no, he asked me to back up to that pickup truck that you see on the inset here, and that's what we did. We slid the heating and air unit into his pickup truck, and he said that he's not to actually go for an installation appointment for another couple of hours. So now it's, I guess, maybe look for some money here where I'm at. I'm in the Charleston area. So the total distance from Lexington to Charleston, I mean, when it's all said and done, is about what? I'm going to say about 120, 125 miles. I believe that's about right. Now, the funny thing about when you're stacking across last mile gig apps, there is the potential of you running afoul with one of the apps, and that is what happened with one of them. They apprised me of a contract violation for being late to the pickup location. Well, I'm not even gonna fuck with them on that. I mean, you're allowed up to 3 within a 30-day period, and I'm not trying to be crass or nonchalant or flippant about it, but today was one of those situations where you can make the argument that, was it worth a contract violation to do what I did? I would be inclined to agree with the naysayers and say, no, it's not worth it. But this was a scenario where I did what I had to do in order to make things happen. I mean, I should have. I mean, when I saw the weight of the item to be picked up, or the first pickup, which turned out to be the last drop off, I'm thinking that it might be something that is a box or something like that, something that's not going to take up a lot of space. If I had known that it was going to take up more space, then I would have immediately made the decision to use the box truck. But since it called for a Sprinter van, I planned accordingly. Now the other one was also planned for a Sprinter van. In fact, both items were actually to be transported by one of their Sprinter vans. And again, had it been straight up Sprinter van for Sprinter van, yeah, I probably would have done that. I hope I'm making sense of what I'm saying. The other thing is that, well, days like this, it seems like when you pull something, when you're playing with fire as I was, or as a fast friend of mine would say, man, you're playing with fire, you almost got burned. Yeah, when you play with fire like I did, there's always a chance that some other shit comes out, and damn if it didn't happen. There were a couple of there were 3 potentially good paying opportunities that came up on the last mile gig apps. But it is what it is, man. I mean, shit like this happens. You're not always gonna get everything. You get what you get, and then you move on, and that's what I'm having to do today. So that's all I had to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome the comments in the section below. I'm in Wood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.